Greetings, fellow Empyreans! It is April 11th, YC125. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is the Eve Universe Show! Welcome, welcome, welcome. I was supposed to fix that before I turned it on. That's fine. We're fine. I kind of want to talk about some things. I'm going to be a little bit more off the cuff than normal. I have notes. I think that it's a good, we have things that I'd like to discuss. Thoughts I'd like to work through. Maybe have you guys see that and maybe even help. Who knows? So how is it going? Don't forget to like the stream as you come in. How is everybody's weekend? Did everybody have a good Easter weekend? Did anybody find any rabbits? I remember one day, I was staying at my friend's house, and on Easter morning, I got up and we were going outside to get ready for church or whatever, and there was literally a bunny in our driveway. I was like, well, that's a little on the nose. I don't know if we ever figured out what actually happened. I think we found the owner. I mean, it wasn't as coincidental as you'd think, right? Like they just got a bunny and it just escaped. Yesterday, I went out and I decided that I wanted to do like my full thing where I like had my Synesis with me and I'd go out and I'd hack a bunch of sites deep in the back lines, and I wanted to see how long I'd be able to be out there. I found the first two sites in Nitoros. Nisua. And I got done hacking about the second or third can when I saw the comet. So I burned off, way off, the comet shows up. I kill the rats in hoping that like the next wave would spawn and he wouldn't be able to handle them. Maybe I could even like send in my drones to help out. I actually did send in my drones. I tried to kite him out and send in my drones, but he smartly like just started defanging me, so that wasn't going to work. He chases me around for a while and then finally gives up and warps off. By that point, a second comet that I to this day do not know whether or not they were related. But the second comet comes in. By that point, the extra wave had spawned, gets caught up in that, kills a few of them, and then he warps off. And then the first comet comes back, like I'm circling back around to get the hacking can. This is where I get greedy, okay? I just got away from being got twice. And here I am, staying in the same system, in the same site, knowing that they're there. So at this point, I deserved exactly what I got. The comet then shows back up, the first one, and I already thought to myself that he was gone exactly like the amount of time it would take to dock up, refit, and whatever. And I was like, but I'm micro warp drive. I can overheat. That's fine. So, like, I'm going around, and I'm kiting out the rats, and I'm kiting him out, and he gets caught by the rats again. This time he gets caught by the rats because I kill the rats again when the second comet leaves. He gets caught by the rats, so I circle back around in order to kind of like try to get my drones in at 40 kilometers. And when I hit 50 kilometers, he hits 70 kilometers or 7 kilometers a second, and I go 3. So, like, that 50 kilometers vanished real fast, and he just got me. And I throw out my ECM drones, and I ECM'd him, and nope, that didn't work. He got me fair and square, and I was just like, in local, I was like, I knew I shouldn't have stayed. You know, like, I knew that you were coming back with something to counter me. Like, I don't know why, like, good on you or whatever. And he goes, or no, I said I just had to see it for myself. That's what it was. I was like, I was pretty sure you had a solution, but I just had to see it for myself. And he's like, sometimes you just gotta go, or gotta know. And I'm like, nah, it's just sheer brashness in this case. So that's my Easter weekend story. But anyway, that the reason why I was so brash was because that was literally my first sight of the day. So I said, screw it. Went back, docked up, got one of the new the Flasher. The Fleet Thrashers fit that was made by Dutch Gunner, or at least given to me by Dutch Gunner. I'm pretty sure he made it. This thing is beautiful, okay? Actually, let me show you this thing. This thing can solo the sites. I absolutely believe it. It can kite out their enemies, a lot of them, as it can go 1781 cold, 2510 hot. I mean, even if your enemy comes in, you're still an artillery thrasher, so you could swap into long-range ammo and just snipe them out at range. You are not cap stable, so you do need to use, yeah, there is a cap thing where you have to juggle between your micro warp drive and your reps if you want to not have to use cap boosters, and if you're soloing, you're probably going to have to chew through cap boosters. But the awesome thing about this is that not only can it solo the sites, but it's got the triple salvage tackle 2s. These things are killer because it gives me 80% access difficulty bonus. That is smexy. This is a fun new tool. I still love the retribution though. You know what I've been spending the last 2 days on? I'll be honest with you. Most of my last 3 days, 3 days. So, No Man's Sky got a new update. I think it's, yeah, Interceptor update. And it added a lot of really cool things. And I have not had much time outside of that for the last, like, 2-3 days. I think it's, I think it's 3 days at this point. I've sort of lost track. So, sorry. But if you want to check out my No Man's Sky stuff, I can always show that off. Maybe. I don't know. I had some problems streaming that one time when I tried to. I'm pretty deep into the end game, but we also got a bunch of other people that just joined too. There might be a 50% sale still going. I don't know. It might have been just the weekend. Hopefully not. I gotta say, you know, I came to this conclusion this weekend, okay? Because I constantly get asked, what do I think about Star Citizen? I've never played actually Star Citizen, and I haven't really looked into too deep into like the state it's at now, except for I hear from a lot of their fans that it's far more functional than people say it is, and I hear from a lot of people that are frustrated because of X, Y, or Z, right? Whatever. I want to basically stay as preserved from it until the developer says that it's ready, because until then it's kind of been an interesting experiment that I don't want to participate in. But my new conclusion is, in a universe in which No Man's Sky exists at this point, there is no reason for Star Citizen. Star Citizen is now a redundant game. If you like Star Citizen, but you're like, man, I want to just pay once and like be done and just constantly have things to do, like just get No Man's Sky. It's 50% off. Message me. We'll hook up. I'll bring you to a planet. I've got tons of oxygen. I've got an oxygen planet. I've got a radion planet. I've got all the right. Like I make the stasis devices. We'll hit it up. And the new interceptors, man. Oh my god. Oh my. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I gotta show off. There it is. So there's my ship collection. All right. Now that I've shown it off. So yeah, the front line and the one directly behind the front line are all interceptors, which are the new ones that just came out. They're amazing. They hover. I love it. So yeah, hit me up if you want No Man's Sky content. I've also been looking into the lore of it, which is also interesting. All right, I digress. That's enough of that. I want to talk about Eve today, though, because a lot has happened. I wanted to talk a little bit about the faction warfare and whatnot. Now that we're past the expansion and it's all like we're there now, I think it's time to reflect both on, you know, the good and the bad, and more importantly, give some criticism or some thoughts as to what the next step could be in better dialing in faction warfare, some recommendations. But before we do, I do want to actually, so I know you all love reaction videos, and even better when I react to myself. So we're going to do it again. This video, just to set it up a little bit, I had on my stream, especially when we're just BSing or whatever, we fix things, right? We talk about a problem, we talk about the design of it, we work on a solution that we're happy with or whatever. So at that point, somebody suggested, now do faction warfare. And I don't know if they knew that they were activating like my ultimate trap card, but I had an answer for them. And I thought it was really interesting because this was made in January of 2022. So I knew that a faction warfare thing, well, I suspected that, I think, I don't know how much we knew that a faction warfare update was going to be that big back then. But either way, so no, I don't think so. But either way, so a year ago, before the announcements, this is what I was saying would fix faction warfare. Now do faction warfare? Oh, okay, good. Faction warfare, what faction warfare needs is what's called campaigns, right? So the problem with faction warfare, the thing that made faction warfare work was sieges, right? The idea that we're targeting is one place, and therefore all of the combat is focused there for a period of time. The other thing is that when I first joined faction warfare, when Aderon first joined faction warfare, we did because Inferno made it Vindicata. Thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole, Steve Online.
So when we joined in Inferno, we did because like the Inferno changes made it interesting and we wanted to check it out. So we literally was like, oh, okay, we're going to check it out for 2 or 3 weeks. So we joined to check it out for 2 or 3 weeks. Aideron Robotics is still in Faction Warfare to this day, nearly 10 years later. So, you know, just getting people in the door. The problem is Faction Warfare.
Okay, I want to talk about that a little bit. Obviously, what I'm describing here is effectively what my suggestion was for many years for campaigns, which are similar to faction campaigns, but not quite. I'm going to describe it a little bit better in a little bit, but it's worth noting that like faction campaigns kind of fills this niche a little bit in the fact that it feels like there are things happening that focus on specific areas. But if you listen to what I'm talking about, you can see that like in some ways, faction campaigns are different than what I had envisioned, i.e. they're kind of untethered from faction warfare. The previous faction campaign wasn't totally untethered from faction warfare, and I feel like people were confused because they thought they had to be in faction warfare to participate. And this time they kind of went the opposite. They completely made them like separate things outside of like where to go to get the sites. And I don't think that that works very well either, because I feel like they're like the whole, well, we'll listen to why I think that this campaign is a good idea, and we'll see how much faction campaigns match that.
Like the barrier that people get when it comes to coming into faction warfare is the idea of like standings. Like people get really afraid about the standings thing, and they don't really understand the mechanics. And you know, it's hard to understand where to go to get the correct content if you're from an outside perspective. So campaigns, basically, you know, the elections are coming up. Not really, but like this is a scenario. The elections are coming up. Actually, this is my old scenario, so it's going to date it. You know, Roden is running for president of the Federation again. And in order to do so, you know, there's been a lot of criticism about his weak policies about the border. And so he launches a campaign to retake Intaki. For the next 2 to 3 weeks, Intaki and the constellation around it is the primary focus. All kills and plexes that are gone in there are worth twice as much as everywhere else. And at the end of the time, there will be a report that shows every single person's contribution, both in kills and an LP during that time. And afterwards, if the Caldari continue to own the Intaki system, then Ronan is embarrassed and somebody else is elected, thus permanently changing the history of EVE Online. And if we win, then Ronan is vindicated and becomes reelected and continues to become president of the Federation. Therefore, the lore is impacting the players are impacting the lore. People join faction warfare. We think of like the whole idea of faction warfare being an is per hour.
I want to stop right there again. So first of all, with as funny as the Intaki thing is, that isn't. I just see that as I recognized Intaki for being super important, especially for like a faction's pride, especially since it's in the middle of the faction warfare zone. It was an easy pick for something important. Yeah, Celis Agard. Oh, yep, that noted. Now, obviously, what we got was a little bit different, right? So we got a faction campaign that allowed our side of it in particular. It's actually worth noting. Let's actually tear apart the previous faction campaign a little bit, because we talk about the gate building side and all that sort of stuff. But the key here is that there is the technology event and the gate building event. The only thing is that the Amar Mimitar side ramped up where they were appearing as the transmuters turned on, whereas the Caldari and the Gallente side didn't even begin their research project until, I believe, around the same time. I don't know if it was just after, just before, or whatever, that the Caldari completed their Stargate. So we were working on a Stargate while they were working on the data thing. Now, the reason why this is important is because we had to bring the ore, everybody had to bring the ore to Othanoon. Othanoon is a low-sec system at the end of a low-sec pipe. It is easy to choke it off. And so they did successfully. And we never, we were busy doing other things in the war zone. The Gallente militia as a whole had other objectives. So we basically defaulted on that one. And that's why they got a Stargate and we did not. However, when the data sites started showing up on the Gallente Caldari side, because the gate had already started, or the gate had already happened, and the Gallente militia as a whole had already kind of looked at the project, looked at the faction campaign, and said, well, this is not something that we're going to be able to impact because we can't break through the Caldari. Therefore, there's basically like any effort that we put into it is effectively wasted. However, the data sites weren't that way. They were the same as the Amar and the Mimitar, where you had to pull them back to a different system to turn them in. The reason why I bring this up is because, you know, how the player base interprets these things is really, really important. But either way, because of those events, that influenced what happened. And as a consequence of that, the gate that was going to go to Othanoon now goes to Intaki. Now, would Celis Agard had invaded Intaki if we hadn't have done it? No. Or maybe, I don't know. But that Stargate wouldn't be there. I do know that. That particular Stargate would not connect there. I don't know what else that would mean. At the same time, there is less so, like, we get introduced to these 4 new characters. Well, not 4 new characters. 2 of them are old, 2 of them are new. We have the 4 commanders. We have the 4 military commanders. Hold on, let me pull this up. You know, we have these 4 different characters, and the 2 new ones are this lady, whose name is currently eluding me. Fiona something or other. And then this girl who, okay, names have fallen out of my head, so we're not going to get names today unless I go here. Fiona Ravelli, I think is her name, the Gallente girl. Forina Ravelli and Haika Torigo. There it is. Haika Torigo. So either way, so they've established these 4 different characters. They have taken command over their operations. So in my example, it reflects directly on the president. But in this case, it is reflecting directly on these commanders. So when the Caldari won and the Gallente didn't, the news said that Fiona had to go and report an answer for why things went poorly. It was tense, like, you know, whatever. Meanwhile, Haika Torigo was promoted because she did a great job. Now, again, what is this going to mean in the long run? I'm not sure. But it's worth noting that CCP continues to put things into play that could go either way due to forces that we might control. So, like, if there's going to be a contention over the nullsec area that Caldari owns, it would make sense that they would agree that we would be the ones that fight that by the Militia War Powers Act or whatever. My point is that I feel like they're basically trying to do this, where they're weaving the lore and player action. But I think that they are still not quite hitting it, because while the lore is kind of recognizing this guy's winning, this guy's losing, I still don't feel like we're part of a unit yet. I don't like, there's a lack of feedback in particular. There's no announcements of promotions. There's no call to arms for battlefields. I feel like it could be still more interactive, especially if there's going to be these commanders that we care about. I don't know if CCP has done enough to make us identify with them yet. In fact, I don't even think we've seen Haika Torigo. I don't even know if we've definitely not heard Fiona, I'm pretty sure, except for the one that we made with the Beaver Show. The point is that things like the fate of Intaki right now could go either way. It is on a knife's edge. It's the kind of thing that something that's happening in the war zone or the construction of the shipcaster could be a catalyst for. Here's my question for you guys. What, if anything, do you think is going to happen when the first group hits stage 2? Like, we've said twists and turns and all that sort of stuff. And here, I guess, is one of my, oh man, I'm jumping around a lot, but I'll save that for later. Let's go back to the video.
Thing, it's the same poison as everywhere else. People that join, I've held roundtables about faction warfare. You know what a lot of people that are into faction warfare want? They want to feel like they're part of the faction. Right? They want orders from their faction leaders. These are the one community in the game that has said, no. I want to work for the NPCs. I want the NPCs to tell us what to do. So yeah, we need the NPCs to tell them what to do. If you're going to be working for the Gallente, you want to be told by Celis Agard, this is where you want to strike. And then when you do, you want to be, complimented for it. You want titles for it. What's crazy is that when I held the roundtable, what I heard was that they literally did not want more ISK rewards, that ISK rewards are pissing off a lot of faction warfare guys because it's causing people to come in who are just interested in the ISK. They don't want that. They want people that are interested in fighting for their team.
It's funny that I say this because we do see an echo of this exact thing in battlefields, where when battlefields were worth too much externally, like ISK and LP and rewards, or like in the form of LP or whatever, the Seagullers were really bad, and it made people pissed off and like welcomed to a certain extent a reduction in the rewards and an increase in its effect on the faction warfare landscape. So that way the people that really care about it participate, and the people that are just trying to get a buck find that elsewhere.
Interested in people that are interested in things like suits and costumes and titles and medals, because that is what motivates people to join a faction war. There you go.
Right. So I stand by that. I find this fairly prescient. Now, it's worth noting that at that same roundtable, there was another suggestion. And that suggestion was for a system that was called at the time Frontlines, I think. And it was the idea that you could only capture a system, or you got a bonus for capturing a system if it's adjacent to one of your systems. So you couldn't just like grab systems everywhere. You actually had a front line that you had to move forward. So I remember that those were the two suggestions. I wanted campaigns. Somebody else was suggesting front lines, and I can't remember who it was. And what we see is we have a hybrid of the two, right? So they got a lot of the things that they wanted to out of campaigns, and they instead put it in front lines. We don't see, like, what I was suggesting is I want to see sieges come back. And in a lot of ways we have, right? Front lines really does concentrate the thing. And I also said that one of the problems is that it's hard to know where the action is and isn't. The frontline system has fixed that. So a lot of the things that I thought that campaigns were going to be needed to fix are instead fixed by the frontline system. But that kind of leaves the question of like, how does frontline, or how does the campaigns work? How do they all relate together? And how do the player base, how do you make it transcend from a feature and an event and turn into an empire that is trying to do things that you can work for to advance their mission? And that is the essence of like game design, right? That's what it's all about. We're pretty close to there, but again, I stress the fact that it's about that feedback. I want reports about like this is insufficient. Not only is this not related to the Shipcaster event, there's nothing explaining here that you can get the Shipcaster event information here. You can't get more information about the Shipcaster event, whatever. But even down here, the top 3 people, come on now. Like the top 3 people, even if you don't include, like, if you ignore the fact that people can cheese it if they want to, if you think about like the 1% of the 1%, right? That is a very small population of people that are going to get a lot, on there with huge numbers that don't even make sense to other people. So like, this is great. Why is it not everyone? Why is it not the top 1,000? Why is it not the top 500? Whatever it ends up being. You feel me? Right? Like, I want to see my number on here. Like, I came here and saw this as a leaderboard, looked at it, realized that I have no idea how to hit those numbers without like just cheesing it real hard or, botting. And then all that does is make me frustrated, right? Because this just seems to either display the power of no-lifing or, at worst, the power of botting. I'm not saying that these people are. I'm just saying, like, it's easy to look at this and have that as the takeaway. And my point is that you don't want your player base to feel that way when they go and look at your leaderboard. You want to see, look, man, if I'm in 675th place, I want to see that. I want to see who's in my bracket, if that's what we're going to do. And that's also why I said, like, concentrate it, right? Like, I still think that this is true, that it should be, like with the Othanoon system, then it should have been kills within the Othanoon system, because that puts a target on its back. The people who are doing faction warfare can now find where the action is, but now it's about bringing everybody in. Now it's about bringing the pirates in. Now it's about bringing looky-loos in. Now it's about bringing direct enlistment people in, right? Where there are specific results, specific leaderboards that are put on blast, recognitions that are given, even rewards that are given that are exclusive to things done in a small area. Are people going to be pissed off? Absolutely. The first time. Make it a normal thing. It needs to be, if you're going to do that, it needs to be a pretty okay cadence, right? People need to feel like they're not being shut out. It's just not their turn necessarily. But either way, the point is that I think that a lot of this isn't necessary because Frontlines do a pretty good job of it. And if you just made battlefields better, nothing I just said matters at all. And I think that making the battlefields better is more important. But that said, the leaderboard thing is true. Like, we should definitely have way more than 3 people on a leaderboard. Yeah, once again, proving that Ader's website is better. Exactly. But like, the fact that there's no leaderboard for this, can I just say that I personally feel like, let's get real, you know, CCP stepped up their game, so let's treat them like big boys now, and we're giving fair criticism. The fact that there's no leaderboard for this faction campaign that's active, especially given how much other things are updating, is absolutely absurd. Like, there should be like a feed scrolling by, maybe, or a report. Maybe you could argue because it's a Shadow War you're not doing it or something like that, but like I feel like this is not enough to let me know how things are going. The line on the graph is cool, but like it'd be nice to be able to put names to. We should see this person that has this massive points for turning him in. You know, whatever. Why isn't this in client? It is in client. Wait, which one? It isn't. These are in client, although you have to be in the correct faction to see them. That is true. I do want to, like, going back to what I was saying earlier, I do want to ask, what do you think is going to happen when the first group hits completion on their research and the development begins, right? Because, like, this is political tension. Right now, all 4 empires are kind of denying what's going on, like, officially. That's why it's a Shadow War. But at some point, one of the empires is going to pop up with another empire's tech completed. Like the Caldari is going to show up with the Minmatar Amar tech, and they're going to have some explaining to do. The question is that, like, how are these things going to play out? And are these things going to have impacts, direct or indirect, on these various different things that are on a knife's edge, like Intaki, like the Turner people, like Caldari's holdings in Syndicate, right? These different things that are could go either way. Specifically, our actions in the Shadow War could function as catalysts within those things. So, you know, the Caldari may be happy now that they're ahead, but what happens when they're completed and that makes everybody, like all of the empires, kind of turn on them? I don't know. Like, we'll have to see whether or not they're that clever. But most of my feedback is about faction warfare, but we've been mostly talking about faction campaigns. Most of it. Well, the thing is this, okay? I've said this before. The bots in faction warfare aren't even really that important because all you're doing is orbiting a button. Like, we had problems with these people before there were bots. I like to call them cockroaches. Okay, cockroaches are people who go where it's nice and quiet or wherever and just feed, plex there and run away from any fights. They're not there to contribute anything to the actual war zone besides just earning their LP for running their plexes, and they're certainly not there to fight. Well, the thing is that I've always said that, cockroaches, the way to get rid of the cockroaches is by shining light on them, which is why I like the whole idea of like campaigns and focused areas. So in that sense, the front lines has really fixed that, because a lot of these bots just literally can't run in places that give good values. You're either on a front line or adjacent to a front line or getting incredibly low amounts of LP. And a lot of these bots are trained to run away, even if there's somebody in local, let alone on the gate. They don't work as much as they did before. So they solved it that way, which is a good way to solve it. I was thinking today, like, I feel like I have nothing for you guys. I have no direction. I should have something, because I've had so much structure in a lot of my episodes and all that stuff. And I feel like last week I kind of fell off a little bit on that. And then like I was starting to get onto myself about it. And then I realized that like literally nothing's happened for over a week now, which brings me to my biggest point about faction campaigns, which is that like this is the time that CCP should show a strong cadence. Now, CCP has suggested that they're about to be doing a lot of changes. But I mean, like, come on, man. We just played that game for like a year and a half. Can we just get to the having the updates then? Like, we're in the middle of a war, the Shadow War thing. And hold on a second. Let's look it up. Our last update was the scope video almost 2 weeks ago. I'm not saying we need a scope video. I'm saying, why didn't they have things ready, or at least resources ready? I don't understand. Hopefully it'll be good, but like, this doesn't look good, man. The whole thing is about giving player feedback. There was an experiment where they did have the Gallente commander call out like the current situation and call for, I think it was Tantalin to be taken, which it subsequently was. But I don't think was there even a recognition from her when that was done? I don't think so. Did the people who participated get a medal? No. You see what I'm saying? This is what I meant about, like, people want to feel like they're part of a group. The event feels like it's going to last for another 2 to 3 months. Well, we'll talk about that too. So the thing is this. Well, actually, I have a thing that I wanted to read. I haven't read this yet, but I did want to read this and read it here because I really like the author, and he gives some good thoughts, even though sometimes I disagree with them. So we're going to see how I think about them live. This is Millen. Oh, God, what is this? I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He says, as you all noticed over the last month or so, we're currently doing a story arc event. Yeah, Millen Arc Trooper. We are currently doing a storyline arc event, which is starting to really hack off players for several reasons. One, we've canceled 2 fairly popular events, the Guardian Gala and the Hunt. For this event, more like Grindfest extraordinaire with less rewards than both. I have a feeling that other events like the Grand Prix or Liberation Games might have been canceled this year if this keeps dragging on. So to this point, I actually, so far, really agree with him. With the caveat that there's, like, again, CCP keeps promising some payoff in the end. Barring that, the thing that sucks about this event the most is that, like, there is no softcore version, as it were, right? The suspect flag is in all the different sites. There's no way for a low-skill person or anything like that to participate. There's also no way to, like, go around and be awesome in it without having other people come and, you know, kill you. By that I mean, like, overpower it with, like, a paladin or whatever it is, like the top tier for that thing. And I think that we are feeling the absence of that because the players that aren't interested in in the factions or in faction warfare as they see it, because they lump them together still, they're not interested in the factions. They're not, all they see it is that they're not getting an event. They're not getting anything in the event for them at all. And I can feel for that. And to that, and especially since, maybe not so Wormholes with Love, or not Wormhole, the Guardians Gala, although the Guardians Gala has had some interesting, unique mechanics in the past, mostly I think that a lot of people honestly and truly look forward to the Hunt. It is actually, I think, I would say that it's probably contending for second place for most popular event in the modern era. It's contending with Crimson Harvest because Crimson Harvest is a long time favorite for a lot of people. Winter event is clearly the biggest, but like a lot of the thing is that the Hunt rewards D-scanning. There's multiple components to it. There's ways for players that can't overpower it to be able to use kind of a little bit more strategery in order to still be able to complete it and get their stuff. I feel like they asked a lot of us to give up those 2 events, and so far I don't feel like we got something that was worth it. Now, is the faction campaign as we have it good? Yes. All 3 sites are really fun. The stuff that it is in it is great. But the question is, would it be any worse if there was a Hunt going on at the same time? Yeah, the 90% drop rate for loot in Wormholes, and then the Hunt actually gets... There are people that wait all year for the Hunt to be able to pull their implants out of their pods. Think of the implants. And also, yes, thank you, there's also no login rewards. So there's very little pointing people to participating. It really is a background thing. If you don't care about it, or if you're not into that very particular kind of PvPvE, then I feel like this event is far more polished, but yet far more narrow in its audience. And I feel like that's kind of unfortunate. So either way, that's point 1. 2, lazy coding and reuse of last year's event stuff without updating or adding new stuff to the loot table drops in the reward box. Skins are last year's Red Force, Blue Force skins, nothing new here. And each faction Navy skins, again, nothing new here. I disagree with this a lot. So let's talk about it. First of all, there's nothing in here about lazy coding, and this event has better implementation than any of the events that we've ever received. So the same skins and stuff, well, yeah, like most events at this point repeat the skins. If events like this didn't drop Navy skins, what would they drop? There is new skins. They are in the reward track. There was new Red Force and Blue Force skins added for this. They're not like repeating the old new Blue Force and Red Force skins. And as an events team, you don't always get the kind of resources it takes to make new skins and stuff like that. So yeah, you do have to sometimes reuse some of the stuff. And while the rats do look like they're reusing stuff, maybe the fact that they're kind of the same is the point. And I guarantee you, I can show you that they are all new rats. Minimalist input and intention concept. CCP can code the event, shove it out, let it run for what appears like 2 to 3 months without much need to babysit it. I agree where this is kind of going, which is, again, it feels like it's just drawing on before something actually happens. The grind of it is pretty extreme. We waited for 3 to 4 weeks anticipating it, which I'm sure I'll own that. But at this point, we are circling on like almost a month. I haven't done the math yet. 3 to 4 weeks on this event, and we're a third of the way through phase 1. Other shoes may drop or whatever, but like it really does at this point in the woods feel like, oh, we're just going to be grinding like this till April. And I could definitely, while there are definitely those of us who are kind of excited by that notion, there are definitely people, a lot of people that hear that and get either sad, upset, or something along those lines. And again, lack of feedback. The numbers going up is good. But, like, I can't even see how many points I've earned past completing the track, let alone a history of that. I don't know. I feel like they're close, but there's a few things that are still missing there, right? Or more importantly, every little bit goes a long ways at increasing the immersion and the effectiveness of the event. Huge RNG on the reward boxes. Hey, you might get 300 loyalty tokens. You might get 4,000 loyalty tokens, or conversely, just a ton of new boosters. Also, yeah, there's a bunch of new boosters, which is new rewards, by the way. I don't know. Like, I get that they're not permanent or whatever, but like there's a bunch of new stuff. There's a bunch of new boosters. So yeah. Or conversely, just a ton of these new boosters, which are mostly just rot because people don't understand how to use them. Okay, so actually this is something that I think is the biggest thing that's missing, okay? You know what we need? We need Ashrathi to not need to make a mega guide. Like, scope video's cool. Talking about the Shadow War and mentioning that there's data sites and salvage opportunities and all this stuff in the data in that is good. Having a dev blog is good. We need a technical instructional video on the Shadow Wars. The different sites, break them into different videos, right? Mini videos that explain the different sites, what to do, how to do them, what you need to bring, etc., etc. And put those in the help video section. There should be more videos added to the video help section. The video help section is starting to be used to show videos around to people. And these videos are really good. But the problem is that a lot of people don't even know they exist. Here, let me show you guys what I'm talking about, just in case you don't know that they exist. So if you open up the agency and you go to the help section here, there's a series of videos, and like, there's scanning basics, there's all sorts of stuff. Now, there's a few bugs in this thing that isn't great, you know, whatever. Overall, it's real good stuff. And more importantly, like, these down here are awesome. Everybody should see these, but most people don't. But here's the thing. The thing that people are asking about, right? At the beginning of an event, everybody's asking, how do I do the event? So if you have a help video and you put it in here, in the event section, Shadow War section, and little videos here, then people will share those videos around, which will not only get people to know what the hell's going on. You don't have to tell them everything. Let people discover stuff. But it will also show people that this video section exists. Because the cool thing is that, like, anytime if I drag this in here, right, and then I close this, I can click on my optimal range link, and it opens up the video. The more we can get used to sharing these around, and the more these videos fill up, I think that this is going to go a huge way of helping us, like, get players up to speed and players getting up to speed. Because once you find this path, then everything that's here kind of, there's all these really sensible things. And I love it, and we need to get more attention on it. I digress. See, this is why I don't ignore his posts, because they give me good content. They should have the data core turn-ins for progress. Well, the thing is this, like, on the other hand, once it's done, it's done. It's hard. I think that, I feel like there should have been more than one threshold. Like maybe thirds. I also feel like maybe the data sites should have started spawning like Like, since the Kaldari have 30% progress, they also now spawn the stellar transmuter sites at no, because then they could run it themselves. That doesn't sound good at all. Never mind. All right, either way, continuing. I don't mind huge RNG and reward boxes. I think that's fine. I mean, it is what it is. That's a balance issue. Feeling that the event has a rigged winner. CCP, we remember Niarja and the Triglavian story arc. What are you talking about? Okay, well, I will say this. Anybody who mentions Niarja as a context of a rigged winner, like, this is a red flag to me. Niarja wasn't rigged. That's a whole rant. The Minmatar players still feel betrayed when they stopped Vard and succeeded and you blew it up anyways. What? They didn't blow up Vard. And now we suspect the same thing's going on here with the Shipcaster's Shadow War event. Who's they? Okay, so 5 has gone a little bit off the edge. We are officially like in the jungle of logic. It feels like they certainly used a guiding hand to get 27 exact systems. No, what are you talking about? It wasn't 27 exact systems. I don't even know how to respond to that, because like the systems that got taken by Edencom became fortresses. In theory, they could have fortified everything, but yeah. It certainly wasn't exact, and it certainly didn't have to be Niarja. Niarja had a standoff. Niarja went for like 6 hours or more without the percentage adjusting in either direction, 0.1%, like not even a budge, because both sides were just annihilating every single rat pack as they were spawning. It wasn't until we ended it became a war of attrition as we entered into the nighttime, and the Edencom started to flagger a little bit, and the goons had just shown up a few hours earlier, and so they took over the slamming of the whole system, and so as soon as Edencom began to flagger, then it got pushed over and Niarja fell. Also, it's worth noting, well, there is a little bit of a thing. It was kind of funny that Niarja happened to start right after Edencom managed to fortify Arshat, because that was a huge effort, and then immediately they were thanked by it by Niarja going live. But I'll tell you this right now, I can attest to the fact that the developer of Invasions did not know when Niarja was going to go live. I can't remember if he was going to go to bed or he woke up in the morning, I think it was, and he checks his phone and he sees that Niarja's live, and he immediately rushes into work. Either way. Suspect mechanics in HiSec has ended up with a lot of HiSec event runners quitting the event, and now it further drags out. And the current rules of exploration and T1 Navy frigates in the data site has led to some interesting issues. And some players have gamed it to where they sit in the site and wait for timers to expire, generally cloaked up, then pounce on the unwary who are suspect jumping in to do content, but can't prevalently attack or get concorded in HiSec. Okay, we're going to start from the end here. Some players are cloaking up and then pouncing on the unwary afterwards. This, I don't care who you are, this is emergent gameplay. You have to set this up, and you have to set a trap, and it gets sprung. There are lots of traps in this game. If you go to a site, and it's open, and then you go in, and there's wrecks, you should probably be a little bit wary. A cloaked person can't move very fast. I feel like this is fine, given the context of the event, given the rules that we are operating under. Now, do the rules make any sense? I agree that this event is attempting to use the suspect system to function as the mechanics for something that the suspect system was never really meant for. And the issue with this is that it has brought into focus all of the issues from HiSec conflict and flagging in EVE. Like the fact that logistics and remote support in HiSec is just like, it's going to kill you. So now you can't spider take the event. You can't expect there to be, you can't bring, it's a battle cruiser size site. And yet if something happens, everybody loses each other's boosts because now and they can attack one of you or worse, like, because the thing is that they don't even need to catch you on the inside. They can catch you on the outside. How about that? And of course, the best way to gameplay around it is to not play the game for a period of time to let your suspect timer cool off. And yeah, it feels like it's kind of cool to have this like conflict zone in HiSec, but I feel like the suspect flag is not quite the correct hammer for the nail. It was suggested, and I think it's the correct answer. Everybody gets a 2-second suspect flag that refreshes every tick while you're inside. So that way, if anybody warps off, by the time they land anywhere, the suspect flag is gone. Look, I'm not trying to justify, we're just using this as a way of opening up the discussion. I'm merely using this blog as a way of systematically laying out my thoughts, because if you didn't watch before this, I was jumping all over the place. So here we go. I think that the idea that a suspect flag that applies to everybody on the inside, but is cleared when you leave, would be probably... I'd like to see that event happen and see how it works, if that was possible. And then some players have gamed... So the thing about the gaming it thing is, as I mentioned, when you land, there is rats there. So you do have to cloak up. There's still the beacon there. I haven't tried it myself. I don't know how hard it would be to actually do that cloak before anything happens. So you've got to kill, like, the first wave of rats. But that's what I was saying. Like, if you go in there and there's rats there, dude, burn off. Fight from range. CCP changing the mechanics of the site several times and stacking NPC spawns. Originally, the data sites would spawn wave one after another until you completely finished hacking. Now about 3 to 4 waves completely inundate you, and many times kill unwary players who don't have the tank or skills to counter. That's just factually wrong. Unless that changed yesterday, because I mean, like, obviously my one data site got interrupted. I can go try it again today, but, like, that's just factually wrong and shows a lack of understanding of the mechanics of how the site works. Now, I believe that they have changed the loot a few times, and it would be nice if there was a little bit more play out. Again, feedback. If there is going to be changes, there should be, like, some sort of report of it or something like that. Just something to go hand in hand to be like, oh, well, that's tied to that. A site literally today, number 7 is just wrong. Great, we'll move on. Omega players only, because you have to be Omega to set your stuff to red if you want to be gank, even though suspect settings are benefiting site campers, and some of the best fits in tanking capacity are 2 T2 Omega only. I'm not even, nope, not even giving that one an interpretation. So, but good points to begin with. And then, of course, he says, like, he's literally just describing the imbalanced nature of things, but, like, this is what consequences look like. But it seems to be punished by a CCP, and now they have to do multiple things at the same time, so their forces and time get split. Except for we're making more progress than everyone else. Like, I mean, we've flaggered a little bit, but I know a lot of people are still waiting, like, to turn in cores and stuff. You need to put out new rewards and new skins for the reward crates. This I agree with. Like, especially everybody who cares at all is done with the track 100%. And like I said, I can't even tell how many points I have. If we could now, like, add an extender on the track or something else, I don't even know. Like, maybe every so many points, maybe every, 100 points instead, you get a free rewards crate. Like, something to make it feel like I should keep grinding. Besides making the near, like, mountainous task of getting that line to go all the way up. You know, it's disheartening. We need to continue those little goals. I know a lot of people that have finished the track and have just stopped immediately because they don't have any more incremental goals to work on. And also, by putting the thumb on the scale with recursive computing modules dropping some sites, you've artificially dropped the PI market, which was the point, which may have consequences later that you might not like, especially when those PI are used for stations as well. I'm sorry. I thought wow. So during a time of increased demand, CCP created an increased supply to make sure that a few people don't suddenly make a ton of money and these cores become impossible to build because the recursive computing modules are like 7 million. You just joined the game today? It's very fun. Use a buddy code. Watch my videos. Join Convocation of Empyreans. Have fun. Use the radial menu. Move it to the right mouse button. Don't let anybody tell you what to do. Except for those things. Found the guy who bought out all the RCMs and then cried about the rare scorch containers. Yeah, that's a fair way of categorizing it. But it's giving us a thing to talk about. Like, I'm just trying to think about my own thoughts about the matter. The coding for the agency itself for its event has led to interesting bugs and lag issues. Not sure if your internal QA team has been looking into it. Faction warfare systems seem to ID sites before they are seen or even scanned. Okay, well, given the fact that CCP Kestrel taught me how to do that, so that way I could teach all of you how to do that, and the fact that he described the fact that the data site's not showing up in the system that you're in was a bug, I think that the fact that you can see them everywhere in the faction warfare system might have been the point. All right. The event feels more like a continuation of scarcity, but is targeted towards player events. I feel like that sentence is just like, you know, the Simpsons meme where she's like 9 and they're like, oh, and 11. Yeah, that was that moment. Like, I got to drop scarcity, trigger everyone. It needs to be more reward to make it worth our while as players. I mean, except for there's still tons of competition for the sites itself. The event is dragging pretty hard. Again, I feel like this is a good example of the fact that there's not enough feedback going on. It doesn't feel like things are happening. And a lot, look, I'm not one to correct people's spelling, but moving on. Player confidence isn't in a good spot due to it. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of people, there's definitely some people that are still highly motivated about X up in chat if you're still highly motivated about this event. The hunt and the gala were ways for players to earn some money, or in the case of the hunt, it was for other events which could drop implants other than the Crimson Harvest. That's not exactly comforting, blah, 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 blah. Look at all them Nexes. Oh my God. Okay, well, I understand that I live in a little bubble, and this is definitely the echo chamber talking, but like, I feel like he says a lot. He can say a lot of players are losing confidence, and I can say a lot of players are not. Good, we can move on. We're all in agreement. Please add more rewards or new skins for the reward boxes. I just feel like something needs to happen. Those twists and turns need to happen pretty dang soon. Which brings me to the idea, so we've got the live event happening, where you have the mass tests happening on Thursday. Mass tests usually get patched onto Sissy. It's a good time that we get a bunch of stuff added, so maybe we'll see more stuff. They've also added a bunch of stuff that they basically could just patch into existence at any given time, including stuff that are both related to the Angels and the Garistas, which are the two groups that were missed out for the hunt and Guardians Gala. So this could still all blow up, but I'm brought back to that question that I was brought to as we were waiting for the event, which is why does it have to take so long? Why can't we have more sense of ramp up? When we did Invasions, when Invasions first came out, every week for the first month, there was a ramp up. The first week, we didn't get any sites. We only got rats roaming around. Week 2, we started getting minor conduits. Week 3, we got major conduits. And week 4, only then, we got the World Arc. That was awesome. It felt like we were building up to something. This doesn't feel like I'm building up to something. So I'll say that. I don't like how it's not. I'm not sure what to do with the PI though. I don't like that it's dropping in the sites because it frees up the market on one side for ease of purchase. Okay, hold on. Yeah, the general topic is we're talking about the event, and then we're going to talk about faction warfare from more of a criticism point of view than a praise point of view. Okay, that's our goal today. Not to be bitter vets, but to give good criticism. Because CCP's come a long ways with this stuff, it's worth giving them good feedback, like feedback of where we feel like things can be better in a way that isn't totally like out of control. So if he's correct, I should see that the recursive computing modules were 2.4 million or more, or about there, prior to the event. So right now they're 2.5 million. So for his hypothesis to be true, the price should be suppressed because of this. Okay. Otherwise, anyone who holds their PI now is basically throwing away money, right? Why would you hold it right now if you know it's going to the demand is going to go down later? Don't stash away recursive computing modules for hard times. Okay. Let's look at the price history. Wowzer. Okay. Well, that's 3 months. Let's say a year. So what we can see is that the normal price for recursive computing modules, if it was true that this was counteracting the market forces, then recursive computing modules would be closer to 1 million. But what we can see here is that this spike, it was hitting 3 times the value. There's a difference between letting the market forces go and actually allowing things to, like this. Did you really want every recursive computing module to be worth 4 million ISK or more? This is just provably false. Now is the time to stash Cryvella's filaments, not recursive computing modules. Yeah, that's a good point. Cryvella's is going to be good. Also, I suggest the fact that we do not necessarily know what's coming next 100%. But, because you can see its price is going up too. This price increase is 100% in anticipation of what is coming next. I really want to know what kind of mining we're going to have to do in Pochfin. It's going to be kind of wild. All right. Let's see. Anything else about faction campaigns? I also feel like we can't answer the question of, like, we don't know enough about the ship. That's what we should do. They should be teasing what this shipcaster thing is as they go, right? As we work towards it, they should reveal more and more information about the shipcaster, right? No, it's not Resource Wars. It's going to be in Pochfin, and it is gated. I don't think it's going. It's not like a Resource Wars sort of thing, though. We need to go in there and mine a new kind of Rakavine. I think that there's a lot of cool mechanics when it comes to the Shadow War, when it comes to like affiliations and who you're doing work for and where you appear you're doing work for and all that kind of stuff. All that's good. I just feel like there's still that missing that kind of lower tier. Even the manufacturing of the data cores are Omega only. It feels like there's not a way for like, I'm doing my part, right? Except for that one very particular niche kind of style of PvPvE. The thing is this. I think that the important thing to keep in mind, though, is that we are very, very, very close to Eve's birthday. Capsuleer Day is kind of an interesting holiday as far as like the holidays go. In fact, Capsuleer Day, Eve University. Capsuleer Day has only happened 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. Has it been officially called Capsuleer Day as an event? So what this means is that most of the time, the Eve anniversary has been basically a login event at best. In 2018, we got Operation Conscious Interruption, which was actually like a full-scale event for the 15th anniversary. There was fighting, there was fighting to be had and all that stuff. That was good. In 19, there was a login event. In 20, there was combat sites. Battlecruiser all over low-sec, null-sec, and wormhole space, so only in dangerous space, it looks like. I don't even remember that one. 2021, we have, the rogue capital shipyards. This was like dealing with the Triglavians and stuff, I think it was. Hit an EOM ship with fireworks in a rogue capital shipyard site. Was that after the Dread attack? Yeah, that was the EOM Dread attack one. Got it. Yep. 2022, we had a login reward and smugglers. Oh yeah, last year was the smuggler event. Okay, my point is that Capsuleer Day is an open like page for them. They could do any amount of scale of event, whatever. The question is, what could possibly they do? I mean, like the thing is that they're hyping up Capsuleer Day an unusual amount, both in the fact that they keep bringing it up as being a big thing because it's the 20th anniversary, but also like Capsuleer Day specifically, not just the fact that it's the 20th year, because like on the 10-year anniversary, there's a big focus on the 10-year Fan Fest. But this year is much more focused on Capsuleer Day, probably because Fan Fest comes later. I feel like the Angels and Grissus NPCs are for Capsuleer Day. Right. But I also think that all of this kind of keys in together. And this brings me to my prediction. You ready for my prediction? We're going to call it. And there's going to be some people that think it's trite. There's a lot of people that are going to agree with me, and there's a lot of people that might be confused. Ready? Capsuleer Day is when they reveal the new pirate faction. I think that tracks. I mean, they've set up for the event to potentially change, the Stargate event to potentially change. I think that the Stargate event and its length is such that it was designed to not let us complete it. That I talked about this, I think, the last time too, where like, sometimes when you're doing like a mission in like a Vigia game, they tell you to go out and do something, but then things change, right? The real mission reveals itself halfway through or whatever, right? Like, I think that this is one of those things that's like, hey, yeah, guys, go and move those boxes from here to there, 1,000 times, and then walks away. So that way you can get into this routine, and then after 150 boxes, suddenly the thing happens, right? And then that changes the context of everything. But you're invested, you've locked into this thing. There's already a narrative, right? People have invested money. People are working on the lines going up. What happens if something changes to that event that like changes the entire context in some small or big way? Maybe the true competition isn't even fully revealed. Now, obviously, you're going to want to give, people their progress its rightful due. You don't want to make people feel like their efforts didn't matter. But my point is that like, if suddenly they give everybody 50%, then that's a clear way of being like, psych, you thought you had months and it turns out there's only a week. And also it turns out that now there's a pirate faction and actually you can reject all of the things that you've done so far and now turn in stuff for the Deathless and blah, 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 blah. That's what I'm calling. Only because, like I said, they're very excited about things. They're very excited. They were very excited about the faction warfare stuff, but I almost feel like they acted like Uprising was just barely the beginning. That wasn't the thing that they were really excited about. They were excited because now the ball was moving. But what they're excited about is I feel coming. And there's an unusual focus on Capsuleer Day, and they keep talking about twists and turns in a world in which we've gone 3 weeks in a faction campaign with 0 twists and turns. Either this video is going to age well, or CCP done up. But given the fact that we've been at this world before, where I say basically those 2 things again, the last few times, CCP's managed to do it. So I look forward to seeing it. In the meantime, my point is that the progress that we put in right now might matter more and sooner than just the shipcaster. If we make sufficient progress as the Gallente, that could influence whether or not Intaki remains under one control or another. Right? Like, these things are, the broader agenda could be influenced by our progress. I think that it is worth being invested in, and it's worth working towards even now. Even if there is a twist coming that recontextualizes things, we can only assume that it'll do so in a way, basically like a checkpoint. What we've done now will influence what comes next. What we're doing now will influence what comes next. CCP says that you can fight for any side, but they're going to let the side they want win. First of all, there's not really a winning. Also, they're not letting anything. I mean, they're not going to stop a side from winning. And I don't think CCP wants anybody to win necessarily. I think that different people at CCP probably have different desires as to who would win. I think by far the coolest story would be Gallente, right? Like, that would be the story that would get them in the news the best. So if I might guess, a scope news thingy appears. The news on the guy from Turner has survived, and the Constellation go into rebellion and joins a new faction. My guess is that either the group from Turner is going to show up in Pochfin or in Flossiswin. I'm not sure which yet. It could go either way because the energy readings out of Flossiswin. The next expansion ought to be announced soonish as well. That's what I'm saying. So, like, this faction campaign is going forward. By the time that whatever this is that's for the birthday is played out, we're going to be basically on, by that point, it's going to be the expansion. And, like, I'm pretty sure that the expansion, like, every single thing points to the fact that the expansion is going to be something along the lines of players are going to be given the ability to construct stellar transmuters to control elements of their solar systems based on certain conditions. And the latest clue, of course, was CCP Rattati's interview with, I think, Oz, where he points out that what they're working towards is something like terraforming, which sounds very much like what we see. So I sincerely believe that I would say that unless otherwise give an indication, we should expect all of the 4 empires to be able to build their shipcaster, because there's nothing really that would cause them to be able to be cut off. Barring Gallente, like, losing control of Intaki, Mehitor, Ammo, and Onamon. Those are all very secure systems. And I keep on coming back to the fact that, like, it's not like this stolen technology is going to be impossible to steal later on, right? As the shipcasters get built, it should only be easier to steal from other people. So I think I sincerely believe that the shipcaster will be eventually built, or could be eventually built, even if it could be prolonged basically indefinitely by somebody.